Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Chimezie Obi Iwago. On the program today, Steinhoff International Holdings hires advisors as one of its lenders faces credit exposure. Shares bounce after traumatic week. Sudan imposes temporary import ban on selected items, foods and other items in an effort to protect its currency and narrow budget deficit. Plus, Libyan political, oil and bank heads discuss funds to lift output. Let's get started now with the markets. And here on the African continent, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was trading high at intraday, outperforming its peers in the region. The JSE index was up 0.13%. Egypt was down 0.11%, while the Nigerian stock index was little off 0.01%. Kenya closed higher 0.11% on Friday. And in the Middle East, stock indices were mostly high at intraday, while real estate firm Dar Al Arkan continued a spectacular rally in Saudi Arabia. However, the Saudi index edged down 0.28%. It has jumped from around 7.50 reals in mid-November, with MSCI saying it was adding the stock to its Saudi Arabia index. Retail investors have piled into the stock in recent days, attracted by its volatility. In Dubai, the index was up 0.55%. Real estate firm Emma Development, which hit a record closing low of 5.34 dirhams last week, rebounded 1.3% to 5.42 dirhams. Its shares were sold in last month's initial public offer at 6.03 dirhams. And Qatar's index was up, and Abu Dhabi was also trading up. In Europe, stocks were higher in early trade as investors focused on two upcoming monetary policy meetings. For more, here is Daniel Cook, my colleague at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Hello, Daniel. Good afternoon. It's beautiful to have you on the show this week.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chimi. Hope you're doing just fine. Also, I'm very excited about this upcoming, very busy trading week.
Well, I'm doing great. Well, the big week of U.S. Fed and ECB rates decisions is here. What are the expectations from Market Street?
Yeah, of course, expectations are always high. And on the other hand, investors are really wondering if we are going to see this Christmas rally that everybody is always talking about when we are getting closer to the holidays. But yeah, you mentioned it. Investors will be monitoring three issues mostly this week. First, they're going to look again at the tax reform of Donald Trump. His goal is to sign this tax reform that he always called historical before Christmas. But there are still details that need to be clarified, and it also still needs to pass Congress. Then on Wednesday, everybody here at the stock market will be very closely looking to the Fed over in the United States. Most likely, we are going to see for the third time in this year higher interest rate. It is expected that interest rates will most likely go up again by about 25 points. A completely different picture here, of course, in Europe, where the European Central Bank has been sticking for quite some time after the financial crisis that we have seen here to this 0% interest rate policy. Also, we don't expect any big changes when it comes to the bond purchasing program. We remember that during the last ECB meeting, Mario Draghi announced that he was cutting the bond purchasing program down from 60 billion euros a month to just 30 billion euros a month starting in January. But with this, at the same time, the program was extended at least until September 2018. Investors here are not really thinking that there are going to be any big changes. But of course, that's always when we are looking at those decisions made by those banks, that investors usually are a little bit careful until they really know what is going to happen.
Well, Daniel, looking at the DAX behind you, it seems the Christmas rally has started, but we'll watch and see what happens. Now, let's look at the news coming from HSBC. The U.S. Justice Department says it will seek dismissal of charges brought against giant British lender, that's the HSBC, in 2012 in the matters of money laundering and risk compliance. How is this news being received today?
Well, all of this was known or is known as the big Mexican cartel case. HSBC pretty much accused by the United States of laundering hundreds of millions of US dollars for Mexican drug barons. Also, they were excused pretty much to allow business and to allow also wire transfers to countries who were under the sanctions of the United States. Countries, for example, like Iran, Libya and Sudan. It seems that HSBC was actually doing their homework. That's what we are hearing. They have also installed something, and I can tell you, for example, an independent compliance monitor. And I can tell you, investors here are watching this very closely. HSBC, a huge bank in Great Britain, but similar situations we also have seen here in Germany with Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank, also a bank, always kind of in the focus when it came to doing business, for example, with Qatar, or also with H&A, one of the biggest owners from China of Deutsche Bank. So yeah, this is a topic that investors here are also monitoring very closely.
Let's talk currency, and Bitcoin seemed to be the end thing. 3 Bitcoin futures is now trading on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is expected to debut its own futures next week. How are you folks at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange reading the Bitcoin story?
Yeah, what a rally at the CBOE in Chicago. You just mentioned it. The website was even breaking down. We saw hundreds of transactions just in the very first minutes when this launch was starting. And yeah, investors here at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange are also monitoring this very closely. Many analysts have told me in the past that Bitcoin for them is an interesting alternative. But on the other hand, many are also calling it very dangerous, because jumps within a day of 30 or 40% are very, very normal. So it's really nothing for private investors. It's only something for the pros. And yeah, but you also mentioned it, CME, another stock market that might be joining soon. Also, Nasdaq is considering to offer those Bitcoin futures in the future. So, of course, Deutsche Börse, by the way, celebrating their 25th anniversary today, will have to take a closer look at this. But for the moment, that's what we are hearing. They are not considering to do the same, what we are seeing at the moment happening in the United States.
Well, congratulations on the celebration of your market's 25th anniversary. Well, we have a lot to talk over in the course of the week, Daniel. So I hope to see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the day.